are the Republicans with the majority in both houses of Congress now? How are they going to lead, do you think, Governor Whitman?
It's going to be a challenge. The good thing is the dynamic here that I think gives us the most opportunity to see some progress is that you've got a president who's in his last 2 years and wants to leave legacy. It's going to come down to a question of whether he, Mitch McConnell, and Boehner can control some of the more conservative members of their caucuses who don't want to do anything with the president, and whether the president will really reach out and, in good faith, offer a hand and say, let's work together, and then if they take it.
Were voters sending a message to Democrats, do you think, Governor Florio, in this election?
I think there's a lot of dissatisfaction in the nation, notwithstanding all the good economic indicators. Stock market's up, profits are up, but the average person isn't feeling great wage increase.
What are some achievable goals, do you think, that the White House and the Congress could put out there and actually accomplish?
Well, the president's already talked about trade agreements, which the Republicans support and should support. There's talk on, well, one of the things I think that could be done, there are aspects of the Affordable Care Act that need to be adjusted and that the president indicated he might be willing to do, such as the 40-hour work week. I mean, you hear tales of people who have now been cut back and they're working part-time and they've lost their health care coverage and they're only able to earn $12,000 a year and they can't live on that. So there are incremental parts of the Affordable Care Act that they could carve out and work on. There's some corporate tax reform that the president has indicated he might support that Republicans could work on.
Do you see areas of compromise?
I think there's the potential for a compromise in the infrastructure area. I mean, everyone laments the fact that our infrastructure is deteriorating, but the question is, how do you go about dealing with it? Where do you raise the money? How do you do that? But I think there's a potential there. Likewise, immigration. I think there's potential for a bill coming through. What form it takes is still questionable.
South Jersey Congressman John Runyon, a Republican who decided not to run for re-election this time, has voiced his frustration with what's going on in Congress today. And he has said that there's so much of an emphasis by so many people these days on just the politics of Washington, and service has been forgotten. With all of your years of experience in the Congress, Governor Florio, what was that like for you during your term in office?
Well, it's dramatically different now. I mean, over the last couple of years, things have become so polarized that people don't even cooperate, don't even talk to each other for the most part. And that just can't continue. I mean, we have to get some goals that everyone can share and work towards that end.
New Jersey has just elected Cory Booker, a Democrat, to a full term in the U.S. Senate. There hasn't been a Republican senator from this state in many decades.
Since Clifford Case.
That's right. You ran for the United States Senate against an incumbent, Democrat Bill Bradley, back in 1990. What was it like for you? Do you see the party strengthening itself here in New Jersey?
I think the party certainly has the potential to strengthen itself. It's got a strong leader, whatever you think of his style, but a very strong leader in the governor who could help the party grow. I'm not sure we're going to see a Senate candidate unless we pick a Senate candidate who has the opportunity and the ability to reach across the aisle. And unfortunately, Jeff Bell, returning to the gold standard just wasn't resonating with the public. That wasn't the highest on their list about what needed to get done. We did not have a candidate who actually spoke to the needs of the people. A little bit like what almost cost Bill Bradley his seat when I ran, in that he didn't focus on what was important to New Jersey. And so you have to have a candidate that'll do that. I think we have every possibility of winning a seat back again with the right candidate.
There are plenty of people across the country and here in New Jersey who think that Governor Christie is going to run for president in 2016. He certainly has gotten a lot of national exposure as head of the Republican Governors Association, traveling around the country, getting lots of press in hopes of re-electing, and he was successful at Republican governors across the country. What did this election, do you think, portend for him and opportunities for 2016?
Ultimately, it's going to be the state's performance. I mean, his record will be the record that people will evaluate him on. Well, we have some problems in New Jersey that he's got to spend a little more time at dealing with those problems. And if he is able to, he'll be more successful than he would be if he doesn't address these problems.
Governor Whitman, what do you think? Is Chris Christie going to run?
let me put it this way, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. You know, says he hasn't made the decision yet, but certainly everything he's been doing, while it's part of his responsibilities as head of the Republican Governors Association to go out and to support Republican gubernatorial candidates across the country, he certainly put a lot of emphasis on that in some key states, and he's met a lot of fundraising people who can be helpful. And you have to remember, when you're talking about getting nominations, governors could have a lot of influence on who the delegates are.
So many chapters to be written. Governors, thank you very much for sharing your insights.
A pleasure.
Thank you.